Picture it. It's a regular Saturday morning in Iran. People are going about their day. And then, at 9:45 a.m., the sky just explodes. In what felt like a blink of an eye, a crisis that had been simmering for years boiled over into a full-blown regional war. And the consequences? They were global.
So, the big question is, how? How does an entire region just erupt into all-out war in less than 48 hours? To get our heads around the chaos, we've got to go back to the very beginning of those first fateful hours. Let's break down exactly what went down.
Okay, so the conflict kicks off with this massive, coordinated air and missile assault. The U.S. gave it a codename, Operation Epic Fury. And its opening move? It was designed for one thing, and one thing only: pure shock and awe.
And the speed of this escalation, it was just breathtaking. I mean, look at this timeline. 9:45 a.m., the first strikes hit. Just 30 minutes later, the compound of Iran's supreme leader is already burning. By 11 a.m., not even an hour and a half in, Israel announces it's hit over 500 military targets. And then, a nationwide state of emergency. This wasn't some slow, gradual buildup. No, this was an overwhelming blitz from the very first minute.
And this wasn't just a surgical strike on one location. Not at all. We're talking about a nationwide offensive. Strikes were hitting targets all over the country, from the capital, Tehran, to the military and nuclear sites in Isfahan, all the way to the critical port of Bushehr. The message they were sending couldn't have been clearer. No part of Iran's command structure was safe.
So, what was the official goal here? I mean, what was this all for? According to the U.S. Department of Defense, Operation Epic Fury had two main aims. First, to cripple Iran's military, and second, to trigger regime change. Right from the get-go, this was never just about hitting military targets. It was explicitly political.
Of course, as soon as the first bombs fell, the question on everyone's mind was, why? Why now? And when you start digging into the official answers, well, that's where things get really complicated and, frankly, deeply contradictory.
President Trump himself left zero doubt about that regime change part. Just hours into the attack, he released a video statement speaking directly to the Iranian people. I mean, just read this quote. This wasn't some subtle diplomatic hint. No, this was a direct public call for the people to overthrow their government, and he framed it as a once-in-a-generation chance.
But here's where the official story starts to fall apart. On one hand, you have the White House saying this was all about an imminent threat. They claimed Iran was getting ready to, quote, perhaps preemptively strike U.S. forces. Okay, but then, on the other hand, you have the Pentagon, in a private briefing to Congress, telling a completely different story. They admitted there was, quote, no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack U.S. forces first. So which is it? You've got two totally different justifications coming from the same government.
And the context here is absolutely crucial. The whole region was basically a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Just a month earlier, Iran's government had brutally crushed the largest anti-government protest the country had seen in decades. Then, the U.S. moves two, not one, but two aircraft carrier groups into the area. That's a massive show of force. But then, and this is the wild part, just one day, 24 hours before the attack, mediators from Oman announced a breakthrough in nuclear talks. So you have diplomacy seemingly working one day and all-out war the next. It's just a whiplash.
So you might be wondering, how did Iran respond? Well, they didn't wait. Their response was immediate, and it was absolutely massive. Within just a few hours of that first assault, the entire region was on fire.
And Iran didn't just fire back at Israel. No, they unleashed a massive barrage of missiles and drones against nearly every major U.S. military base in the Persian Gulf. Think about this list: Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, boom, boom, boom. The entire American military presence in the region was under attack at the same time. This was an immediate region-wide escalation, no question about it. And right away, an information war erupted right alongside the real one. It became a battle for the truth. Iran's Revolutionary Guard made this huge claim that they had actually hit a U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. The response from U.S. Central Command? It was blunt. One word: lie. They said the missiles didn't even come close. This is the classic fog of war, right? Both sides are desperately trying to control the story.
Then, Iran played its biggest economic card. They announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, this is one of the most critical choke points for global energy on the planet. With that one single move, Iran brought a huge chunk of the world's oil and gas shipments to a dead stop. You can just imagine the shockwaves that sent ripping through the global economy.
So after all this, in just 2 days, the entire political landscape had been transformed. And the human cost? It was devastating. The Middle East was, quite literally, a region on fire.
And then came the news, the one announcement that changed absolutely everything. On March 1st, Iranian state media confirmed it. The initial strike on Tehran hit its main target. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the man who had ruled Iran for more than 30 years, was dead. In that one moment, the entire balance of power in Iran, and really the whole Middle East, was just gone, fundamentally altered.
Let's talk about the human cost, because it was immediate and it was brutal. Inside Iran, the Iranian Red Crescent Society reported that in just the first day of strikes, more than 200 people were killed, and the vast majority of them, civilians, just caught in the crossfire.
Meanwhile, in Israel, Iran's retaliatory missile strikes got through air defenses. They slammed into residential areas, and when the dust settled, 12 civilians had lost their lives.
And the United States wasn't spared either. U.S. Central Command confirmed that 3 American service members were killed during those first 48 hours of the operation.
And you can see here just how quickly the violence spilled across borders. Iran's retaliation, the fighting that followed, it led to dozens more deaths across the whole region. You're seeing casualties in the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, Lebanon. This wasn't just an Iran-US-Israel conflict anymore. It had gone truly regional.
The global disruption was immediate. Think about it. Airspace closed over at least 7 countries. Major international airlines just suspended all flights to the region. You had more than 150 massive cargo and oil ships stuck just sitting in the water outside the Strait of Hormuz. And back inside Iran, you had this incredibly volatile situation. Some people were actually celebrating in the streets over the Supreme Leader's death, only to be met with violent crackdowns by what was left of the security forces.
So, after just 48 hours, everything had changed. The old rules? Gone. A new, bloody, and terrifyingly unpredictable chapter had just begun. With Iran's leadership completely shattered and new battle lines being drawn all across the Middle East, the entire world was left holding its breath, asking one simple, terrifying question. What happens next?